This video will provide you with an overview of the Kentucky Child Outcome Summary process. In this video, we will talk about what the Child Outcome Summary process is, how to use the Child Outcome Summary process, and we'll provide you with some resources to support implementation of the Child Outcome Summary process. The Child Outcome Summary process, or COS, is a team process for summarizing information on a child's functioning in 3 child outcome measures. This information is reported to the United States Department of Education Office of Special Education Programs to determine whether federal IDEA funding is helping young children with disabilities make developmental growth. COS information may also be used by local school districts in Kentucky to see child growth over time. The COS process is needed because there is no assessment instrument that assesses the 3 outcomes directly. Recommended assessment practice using the COS is to use multiple sources of information, such as family information, provider information, ongoing assessment information. And since different programs use different assessment instruments, it's difficult to directly assess the 3 outcomes. The COS process provides a way to convert the different assessment data into one common metric. The 3 child outcomes that are measured with COS are positive social-emotional skills, knowledge and skills, including language, communication, and early literacy, and using appropriate behaviors to meet their needs. Key features in the COS process are that it uses multiple sources of information. It does involve a team-based discussion and decision-making process. It utilizes a 7-point rating scale to describe the child's functioning across settings and across situations. The Child Outcome Summary forms are created and entered into Infinite Campus in Kentucky for all children for whom a district receives state funding and for any child who receives special education services from a district. It is required to be completed upon program entry and program exit, and there are optional completion at interim terms in between entry and exit. So as I said before, it does involve looking at child functioning across settings. This involves observations of the child in different settings and different times of the day. So classroom settings, home, we want to gather information about the child at home. If the child leaves the classroom to go for speech therapy or occupational or physical therapy, you want to look at that setting also. It includes information from anyone who knows the child well, so that would be families, classroom teachers, any related service providers. If you're able to gather information from child care providers, that is also helpful. It tells you more about the child's functioning than a standardized assessment can tell you. For some skills, there are age appropriateness is influenced by cultural expectations. So in some cases, the child may appear to be functioning below age level expectations, but you need to think about whether that's the family's culture and family expectations. So Child Outcome Summary does look at the child's functioning across all settings and how everyone views the child's functioning. There is a 7-point scale that is used when rating the child. So teams assign a rating from 1 to 7 for each of the 3 outcomes. This scale describes the child's status compared to age expected functioning. So we think about where the child should be functioning based on their age. The highest point represents age expected functioning. So a 7 would be completely functioning at age level expectations. And lower points represent the degree of distance from age expectations. Each of the 7 points on the scale is defined by specific criteria, and they do take into consideration age expectations, and they use what is called immediate foundational and foundational skills. There is a document that provides you with definitions of each of the ratings. This document is available on the Berea RTC website on the COS page. As I said before, the COS process does use something called age anchoring. So age anchoring involves determining the child's functional abilities compared to age level expectations by using developmental progressions. So you think about the child's functioning across all settings, home, school, any other setting you're able to gather information about. You use your ongoing assessment data to categorize the child's functioning, so your teaching strategies goal or AEPS, whatever your program uses. And then you describe the child's functioning as age expected, so meeting age level expectations, immediate foundational, which would be just before what you would expect the child to do based on their age, or foundational, which is a much lower skill level than you would expect the child to have based on their age. There is a decision tree for summary rating decisions that helps you make these decisions about how you should rate the child. That decision tree is also available on the Berea RTC website on the COS page. So as I said before, there are age-expected skills. So those are skills and behaviors that you expect the child to be displayed based on their age. Immediate foundational skills, which are skills and behaviors just below what you would expect them to be doing based on their age. And foundational skills, which are skills that are much lower than what you would expect the child to be using based on their age. This is the decision tree that I talked about previously, and this document does help you think about how you should rate the child, and it is available again on the Berea RTC website on the COS page. So in order to determine those ratings, you want to observe and rate the child's development using your ongoing assessment tools, so your TSG, AEPS, work sampling, whatever your district uses. And then there are crosswalks that align the three outcomes to assessment tools. So you can use those crosswalks, the crosswalk that goes with whatever your ongoing assessment tool is, and look at which indicators on that assessment tool align with each of the three COS outcomes. So then you want to think about the child's development in relation to developmental progressions and age expectations, and you also want to consider information shared by team members. So you want to use that information from families and other providers along with your ongoing assessment information, because you want to look at functioning across all settings, not just classroom functioning. This is an example. This is what the Teaching Strategies Gold crosswalk looks like. So as you can see, it tells you which indicators on TSG are associated with outcome 1, outcome 2, and outcome 3. And these crosswalks are available on the Berea RTC COS webpage. Once you have looked at your ongoing assessment, you also want to gather that team information, as I said before. So think about information you can gather from families, related service providers. You can do this during your home visits. You can do it during your family teacher conferences. You can gather information during ARC meetings. You can do it just through informal communications with families, service providers, other caregivers, any way that works best for you. There are some documents that provide that you can use. You can create your own form to gather information from families and related service providers, but there are a few sample parent interview forms also available to you that you can use, and these are also available on the Berea RTC COS webpage. It's important to remember that we are thinking about child functioning. So if a child has access to and uses an assistive technology device, like a communication device, a mobility device, if the child is able to use that device to bring their functioning up to closer to age level expectations, then you use that functioning level. So because that's what we want children to do. We want them to be able to use devices to bring their functioning closer to age level expectations. You also might want to think about children who display skills or behaviors that are different from the typical progression of skills. So self-stimulating behaviors, for example. But you want to think about the extent to which that behavior influences the child's functioning. So if they're using the behavior to calm themselves and be able to function appropriately, you want to take that into consideration. Another thing to think about is ratings versus progress. A child's rating may not change, but they still could have made progress. So for example, if you enter a child into your program when they're 3, they may be rated a level 4, and they may still be rated a level 4 when they exit at age 4. But if you think about it, there are a lot more, the skills have increased. So the child has still made progress. They may stay at a level 4, but they've still made progress. So you should never feel like you need to move the child up a level. You want to make sure you're looking at what their functioning is at this moment when you're making that rating. So some final points about the COS process. Your ongoing assessment data is very important to gather and use when making these decisions about a child's functioning. You also want to consider information from families, service providers, any person that you're able to talk to, relate that who is involved with the child in different settings to determine their functioning across settings. The rating is entered into Infinite Campus using the COS form at specific times during the year. The next video talks about that, specifically how to enter this information into Infinite Campus. Ratings are entered for all children who are enrolled in public preschool programs, plus any child with an IEP receiving services from the school system. So these would be children who come in for services only, children who are in a Head Start program but served by the school district, any child receiving special education services. As I said before, the resources that were discussed in this video are accessible on the Berea RTC website under the COS tab. So you can access all of those resources, the rating scale, and the other resources discussed in this video on that webpage. If you have any questions about the COS process, you're welcome to contact me. I'm always happy to help.